Hello, student. Hi. Hope you're having a good afternoon. This is a Saturday. Okay, I'm having extra class here so that I can speed up the lessons and we can finish up earlier. We can have lots of time to do questions. Okay. First of all, those who are watching, can you please comment whether you hear me? Okay, I think I'm muted. Let me see with the. Okay, I see a comment here. All right, Minyin. Hi, good evening. Good evening. Yeah, I hope you're having a good time now. All right. Extension. Yeah, Kiat Okay, good evening. All right, I'm going to do a short lesson. Okay, it's something that you've learned before, I think, in your primary school and also in your lower secondary. So it will not be up to 1 hour, I believe. And it's on next week, Monday and Tuesday, right? Monday for 5S4, Tuesday for 5S2, you'll be having another fresh topic. So I'm just covering one part only, which is just the trophic levels. Okay, so I hope you're all ready for class, for lesson now. Okay, so I will share screen and I hope you can see this. Right, I'm looking at it, so I think should be no problem. Okay, today talk about the biotic components. As you remember, we have learned in the previous lesson, in an ecosystem, you have two components. Okay, just let me share this. Right, ecosystem, this was your previous lesson, that was last week. In any ecosystem, you have two components. One is called the biotic component, and the other one is called abiotic. Okay, so what is the biotic and abiotic? So biotic, they only refer to the components with life. So when you talk about an ecosystem, the biotic component will encompass all the animals and the plants and also the bacteria and the fungus, whatever, as long as they have life, okay, or they are living. The living thing, they are considered a biotic component of the ecosystem. And all the rest, which are not living, okay, they are not life, but they are in the ecosystem. For example, sunlight, okay, water, okay, humidity, air, the pH of the soil, right, the climate, the temperature, all these are known as the abiotic. Okay, just to recap what you have learned, what's the meaning of biotic and abiotic. So now we're just looking at the biotic component. All right, we're just looking at the biotic component. Let me take a pen. All right, if you're looking at biotic, that means all this only. We're only referring to, all right, biotic component, the relationship between producers, consumers, and decomposers. Because all the living things, whether your animal or your plant or a bacteria or whatever, they come under any one of these three groups, whether they're producer, they're consumer, or they're decomposers. Okay, there's nothing else. So all the living things here, they either play a role as a producer or as a decomposer. Okay, so now we're just looking at the food chain, because how the relationship between these things is through the food chain. Because as you know, right, and you learn in primary school, this animal eat another animal, right? And then this animal that has eaten this animal will be eaten by another animal. So all this is actually a food chain. And this is the relationship among the biotic component. Because, you know, in wildlife, it is either you are eaten or you eat other people, right? It's like that. So this is the nature. So in the ecosystem, the relationship of a biotic component is through the food chain. When you're eaten, you supply the energy to another organism. That's how it goes. All right, let's look at the biotic component, the food chain. All right, today we're going to look at the food chain. So in any any ecosystem, when you talk about biotic, they can either play three roles in it. Either you're a producer, a consumer, or a decomposer. Okay, so producer, we have learned in the previous lesson. A producer is an organism, right, that are able to produce food. They are able to make their own food either by using energy. There are two ways, right? One is the sunlight, another one is through chemical reaction. So they are called autotroph. Okay, so here, producer, they are autotrophs. So whether they use what kind of energy, if they use light energy, that means they are photoautotrophs. If they use the chemical energy from the process of convert chemical to another chemical, okay, maybe breakdown, right? We call it decomposition, right? That would be for chemoautotroph. So either way, they are producing food, okay? So all autotrophs are producers, okay? So all the organisms that are considered autotroph, that means they are able to produce food. Okay, all autotrophs are producers, and all the heterotrophs, they are consumers. Heterotrophs are organisms that rely on another organism for food and their nutrition. So they are consumers. They can't make their own food. Heterotrophs are the ones that cannot make their own food. Okay, so all autotrophs are, while all heterotrophs are consumers. Now, consumers, you have many different levels of consumer. Okay, you learned that in primary school. So consumer, you have consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, and quaternary consumer. Okay, so what is a primary consumer? It is the first level consumer, and they all happen to be herbivores. These are the consumer who eats green plants or plants. Okay, so the first level of consumer. So if you look at relationship here, your producers are the ones that can make the food. Okay, the producer will be eaten by and this is the first level primary consumer. Okay, so I'll just put symbol here, primary consumer. And then when organism is eaten by another animal or another organism, right, this will be the secondary consumer. You know this very well, right? You've learned it in primary school. And when this secondary consumer is eaten by a consumer, it's called tertiary consumer. Okay. Okay, the word I'll show you afterwards. And then when this one, the third level is the tertiary consumer. Is let's say there's another organism. We call it a quaternary consumer. Okay, usually it doesn't go very long. Usually you do have another level higher than that. So usually in a food chain, so this relationship is called a food chain. How food or energy is passed on from one organism to another organism. Usually it will only go up to 4 or 5. You hardly get 6 the levels. Okay, later on we'll see why you do not have a very long food chain. Okay, there's a reason why. Actually, usually about 4 or 5 levels you need. Okay, these levels are called trophic level. Okay, let's look at this. So producers are all autotrophs. Okay, let me write down here to let you know. Producers are all autotroph. Okay, all autotrophs. And the first, we call it the primary consumer, they must be herbivore. They cannot be carnivore. Okay, herbivore have to eat the green plants. They have to eat plants. So the primary consumer, they have to be herbivore. And the secondary consumer, it can be carnivore. Okay, carnivore. It also can be omnivore. Omnivore are those organisms that eat plants and also eat animals. So the first one is always a herbivore. Because sense it, because if it is a producer, the first we call it the primary consumer must eat the producer. The producer must be a plant. So it must be herbivore, okay? And all the rest, it can be carnivore, it can be omnivore. So as you go higher and higher, okay, it cannot be herbivore. Herbivore is always the primary consumer. Okay, so other it can be carnivore, it can be herbivore. It can be carnivore, it can be omnivore. Okay, so you see these words, right? Primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. All right, so you see an example. In a grassland ecosystem, okay, when there's padang rumput, okay, the grass is the producer because they are able to convert sunlight into starch, right, into glucose, and then later and then grasshopper, which feeds on grass, I mean eats the grass, is called is the primary consumer. And then grasshopper eaten by a frog. The frog will be a secondary. A snake which eats the frog will be a tertiary consumer. And then if the snake eaten by an eagle, this is called a quaternary consumer. Okay, so this is a very simple concept that you've already learned. Nothing new there, right? Nothing new. That's why today's lesson will be quite short. Okay, next, decomposer. Now there is another group here besides your producer and consumer. The third group of biotic component is your decomposer. So these decomposers are usually bacteria and also fungi. They are able to break down, so they carry out a process of breaking down the complex organic molecules. These are the molecules that in the body. We have carbohydrate, we have lipid. All these are organic because all these are built inside our body. So when let's say the plant animal dies, protein protein, the carbohydrate, the fat, whatever molecules are inside there will be broken down group of organism called stomach. So they will carry out this to actually, that means from something protein that is, let's say protein is a complex molecule, it will break it down into amino acid, all right, amino acid later on will turn into ammonia. So in the end, you'll find that this nutrient will be simpler. It become inorganic. It may become ammonium, it may become nitrates, it may become nitrites, and that in turn will help make the soil fertile, make the soil able to be used again, okay, because the nutrient is there to be absorbed by another plant. So these decomposers actually return these what we call the nutrients or the organic compounds into simpler substances. Okay, so they convert these more complex substances into simple substances. All right, it can be nitrates, it can be nitrites, so they can be used again by the plants, make new tissue like amino acid or proteins or carbohydrates and so on. So in other words, they are recycled. These nutrients are recycled. Okay, we have seen that in the nitrogen cycle. Okay, remember when we have this rhizobium, you have anabaena, you have nostoc, all these bacteria in the soil and also in the root of the pokok kacang. They are able to do all this. So they will convert this into nitrates and nitrites and so on. Okay, and that will help to make sure that this will use again. You see, absorb again, absorbed by producer, and you can see it cycles itself. Okay, so these nutrients are always there. Okay, do not have a decomposer, your cycle is not complete. You will have all these dead bodies are in the soil. Nobody can use that. Nobody can use the protein because it's still stuck in the body. It's still stuck in the dead body. Okay? No use now, isn't it? The dead body, there's no use for it. You recycle back the nutrients in the body so that other organisms will be able to absorb it. So the cycle that you see here. So that is the role of decomposer. Okay, so that is also the niche also for the fungus, bacteria. They call it the niche. I've seen this word before. Niche is the role. What does it do? Why do we need bacteria, saprophytic bacteria? Why do we need fungus in this world? One of their very important niche, their job that other organisms cannot do, is to do this. Right? You break it down so that you can actually nutrients is in the ecosystem. Okay, it doesn't it's not one way, not one way street, not one satu jalan. It is a full circle. It comes back again. Okay, so now we're going to talk about energy flow. When we eat an organism, what happens? We are taking in the protein from, we eat chicken meat. Okay, in the chicken meat, the flesh, the muscle there is protein. There is amino acid which makes the protein. And when whatever energy that's stored, it can be rice, it can be protein, it can be muscles, anything. When we put it in our body, right, we get energy from that. So that's why we call it, when we measure the food, we measure in terms of kilojoule. That's a kilojoule or calorie. It shows that this food, when we oxidize it, we are able to get energy from it. It actually can release heat. It actually can be used to produce heat. All right, so we get energy from that. So a relationship that in the component is of a food chain, not other. Okay, so in the biotic relationship, in a biotic component, right, all these what they call the animals and the plants and the they actually a food chain. So that's why a food chain is the flow of energy from one organism to organism. Okay, so what is the food chain? It's a sequence of organisms through which energy is transferred. So you can see here, energy is transferred. When we eat food, the main purpose is to get energy. Okay, we don't eat just for the sake of eating actually. If we didn't need the energy, we don't eat also. Okay, feel hungry. The reason why hungry is because our body is giving us signals. Why do we feel hungry? Because our body is telling you, by how to tell you, it has to give you some kind of pain, isn't it? It has to tell you, I need energy, so you better do something. The hunger there is the motion for us to put food into our mouth. Okay, so when the hunger is actually a sign to tell you that the body needs energy. So when you think, you get the energy from, all right, and that is body, and you use energy for your processes. You produce heat, right, to warm your body. You also need energy for your contraction of muscles. You need to this ATP, your muscle contract, so that you can move, you can walk, you can talk, and all that. So produces heat, and so you need energy. Okay, so how do you write a relationship from one organism to another? How do you picture it? How do you write it? So usually we write we call it trophic level. We put it in a diagram form. Okay, in a food chain, if it's one line, it's called a chain. Chain means it's just linear way. So here's examples of chain. Now grass is the producer. Grass eaten by grasshopper, right? So grasshopper is meat, right? Grass. So that's why it's a primary consumer. This is a herbivore. And then when grasshopper is eaten by the frog is called a secondary consumer because grasshopper is a primary. So this is another level, higher level. Okay. Now a frog can be carnivore, it can be omnivore. Okay. So a frog eaten by snake. Okay, so snake is a tertiary consumer, and snake eaten by the eagle is a quaternary consumer. Now notice at the higher level, call it the trophic level, the highest one, usually you don't have anything eat the eagle. Okay, we don't have normally no lah, the tigers, all this they don't eat, because normally the good thing about, because they fly, it's not eagle. So they are very agile. Even if there's any predator, right, on the ground, able to catch eagle. So eagle does not have any natural enemy. They don't have any natural predator. Okay, so in other words, how do then? Okay, they die not because as a food, they die because of maybe old age, or maybe they die because of sickness. Okay, this is natural. Okay, so usually that is the top. We call it the apex. In the trophic level, right, this usually is always the producer. Highest level there, you will see that the organism is usually bigger in size. Okay, now we look at this. So apex is the tip. Okay, we call it the top means the apex. It's called the apex. They don't have things that eat that because they are considered the king, right? They're considered just like tiger. Tiger is the apex predator because you don't have another organism that eats on tiger. So tiger in our Malayan rainforest, we consider they're at the top food chain. They're at the top of the food chain because unless because human, we don't really when we kill tigers, it's not for food. So this is talking about the food only. When we kill tigers, maybe because of get some parts of their organs for medicine and all that, so it doesn't count. It doesn't count. Okay, we are not their predator. We are not the predator of the tiger. So when we talk about predator or predation, it has a natural setting where organism eats another organism just for the sake of food. Okay, so we don't talk about like human. We make use of a lot of things. We will kill a lot of animals to use this as medicine. You know, the Chinese medication and all that. Part so that doesn't count because we're not taking it as food for nutrition. We're taking it for nutrition. You know, I'm not taking it for medicine purposes. That's a different story, lah. Okay, so apex predator is the highest, and you will see most often in an ecosystem, what they call the chain is not just as simple as. So sometimes you have one organism that eats more than one food. Okay, so that let's say the rat. Rat doesn't only eat the grass. Maybe rat also eats maybe the paddy. So you can have more than one relationship there. And you have more than one, you normally can join up together. A few food chains, they interact. So they are sort of like network, they crisscross here and there. So this one can be the food for two organisms. The rat can be eaten by the snake. It also can be eaten by the eagle. Okay, so you have a more complex kind of, it's called a food web. So food chain is just one line, but food web is more than one food chain joined together. So it calls it a network. It is a network of a few food chains. Okay, so like you see here, this is a web. This is a web because your producer is here, right? Producer. And then you have grasshopper as the primary consumer. Yes, and you also have the rabbit, which directly eats the carrot. You also have the rat, which eats the, I don't know, maybe the carrot. Okay, so and then you have your rabbit being eaten directly by an eagle, and also can be eaten by the fox. Okay, the rat eaten by the snake, also eaten by the fox, and the snake eaten by another thing. So you can see it's more than one organism can be a secondary consumer. It can also be a tertiary consumer. One organism can be a primary consumer. It can also be a secondary consumer. Okay, so it is interlinked or interconnected. And how this energy is transferred from one level to another level, okay, we need to see the trophic level. What is the meaning of trophic level? Okay, look at this definitions. Now, trophic level of an organism is the position where it occupies in a food web. Okay, so if it occupies very high up, they call it the apex. That means this organism doesn't get to become the food for another organism. They don't get eaten. They have very little chance to be eaten. If this organism occupies the lowest level of the trophic level, okay, lowest level, that means this organism is food for many organisms. Okay, it's likely there's a high risk for it to be eaten by many types of organisms. Okay, so the trophic level of an organism is the number of steps it is from the start of the chain. So the trophic level 1 is always the producer. Level 1 is the producer and it's always the plants. Okay, level 2 will be the herbivore. That means the primary consumer. That's level 2. Then level 3 is usually the carnivore or the omnivore, level 3. And then typically it goes up, all right? Normally it's up to level 4 or 5. Usually, very rarely, you have level 6. So they call it apex predators, okay? And usually when you want to draw a diagram, you will always signify it with a pyramid, all right? Pyramid, there are actually 3 types. We're going to see that later. These are called ecological pyramids, okay? We want to talk about 3 types actually. In your lower primary, I think you'll learn only about 1 type. We got a pyramid of numbers. That's the simplest one, pyramid of numbers. But we find that pyramid numbers sometimes is not accurate. Okay, numbers means we just look at the number of organism. Okay, you got 1 tree, that's 1. You got 20 belalang there, okay, that's 20. You're looking at number only, but it's not an accurate representation of the energy that is stored inside the body. Okay, so we go to that later. So this is the definition of trophic level, is the position, where it stands in a food web. Okay, so trophic level, the number smaller, it means it is nearer to the producer, the lowest level. If the number is big, trophic level is high, that means it goes up higher in the pyramid there. Okay, so let's go on to the 3 types of, okay, wait, Anna, before that. Now, food chain, how are they transferred? You see, like as I mentioned earlier, you eat your organism, you eat your food, that starch or whatever carbohydrate or protein, when it enters your body will oxidize it. Okay, your body oxidizes the glucose, and when you oxidize it, you get energy, you release the energy. It's called oxidation. So through respiration process. So this energy is transferred when you use up when you eat your food. Now, let's talk about the green plant. When a plant is being absorbing, when a plant is being is under the sunlight, okay, let's say look at this leaf. This leaf here is being didedahkan kepada cahaya matahari. Okay, that means it is under the sunlight now. It is receiving sunlight energy. Out of 100% of the sunlight that reaches the leaf, only 1% is used for photosynthesis. Can you imagine? It's using actually very little. Out of the 100% of the amount of sunlight that reaches the leaf or reaches the plant, they only use it 1% of it for making food. Okay, what happened to the rest? The rest of them actually are maybe refracted. It doesn't get to be absorbed 100%. There's no such thing as 100%, right? There will be other things, other factors which affect it. So you will have the light being refracted from the plant, okay, and some of them will pass through, right? And some of them will be warm. 40% of the sunlight maybe warm up the soil. So you cannot be 100% absorbed by the light or by the plant. Only 1% is used for the photosynthesis. The rest is used to maybe evaporate the water for transpiration, water evaporated into water vapor. So out of the 100%, only 1%. Okay, it doesn't take everything from the sunlight. So out of the 1%, you see, when this, let's go back to here first. About 51% of the light reaches Earth's surface. Only 1 to 2% of the energy from the sun is actually absorbed by the glass. Okay, where goes the rest? It's reflected, right? Is some are absorbed by the atmospheric gases, used to convert or to make the water become transpiration to get evaporated to get water vapor and so on. Now, when your leaf now, your green plant now already absorbed the sunlight, it is making food. Okay, let's say this green plant, all right, this green plant already absorbed sunlight, all right, now it's making food. It's already got food in there. So let's say this green plant is now eaten by caterpillar, eaten by the caterpillar. The caterpillar stays on top of the leaves, and out of this 100% of the energy that is stored inside your green plant, actually 90% of the energy is lost. Only 10% will get to be taken by your caterpillar. Okay, so let's say this producer 900 kilojoule. 900 kilojoules of the energy. Kilojoule is a unit or measurement of energy. Okay, kilojoule. So if you say 10% of that 900 kilojoule is actually going to be taken by the caterpillar. So that means only get 90 kilojoule that the caterpillar gets. Okay, 90 kilojoule. Because 10% out of 900, 10% times 900, you get 90. Okay, 90 kilojoule. So now caterpillar got 90 kilojoule energy inside there. Now let's say this caterpillar is eaten by the bird. Okay, you take another 10%, only the bird will only get 10% of this 90 kilojoule. So 10% of 90 kilojoule is 9 only. So the bird now gets 9 kilojoule from this caterpillar. And subsequently, when the bird is eaten by the snake, all right, another 10% only gets to be transferred to the snake. So the snake only gets 10% of your 9 kilojoule. That means 0.9 kilojoule. So you can see that the energy transfer, all right, from one organism to another organism through the food chain, it actually becomes less and less and less. You see that? Now, where has it gone? Where has all the energy gone? The next level only takes 10%. Okay, the reason that you can see here, 90% of the energy is actually lost. You do not get to transfer 100% of this energy from this organism that you eat into your body and expect to use it 100%. Okay, it's not possible because there are other factors. All right, now why is there energy loss? Okay, the reason here is why energy loss? Okay, don't forget the organism has to produce heat. Okay, so that is lost as heat also. Okay, now let's look at energy is lost due to what? What are the process? What are the things that causes the energy to be lost? Now, when you eat the organism, right, you don't eat the whole organism. Sometimes the fur, all right, the skin you don't eat, the skeleton you don't eat. So that also contains tissues. That part that you don't eat contains tissue. When it contains tissue, it contains energy as well. You're not taking everything inside. You don't eat the whole thing 100%. Right? You can't eat fur. You can't eat the skeleton, right? You only eat the muscle, correct? Not? So it cannot 100% go into your body. Okay, that's one. Another thing, all right? Not all the food is being digested, right? You have some fibers, all right? Some part of the food. You cannot digest everything. That's why you have your feces. Your feces is served to, these are the things that do not get to be absorbed by your body. So you will also pass it out through your system, right? That also maybe have some of the energy lah. You do not use 100% of what you eat. Okay, you don't eat 100%. You don't get 100% of what you eat. And then when you are using when you are having this getting this energy from your this food, you used it in the form of respiration. You produce heat. So heat is dissipated. All right, your body becomes warm. So some of the heat, this energy is lost in the form of heat. So it will not get to be passed on to the next organism that eats you. Okay, let's say you're not a human. Let's say you're a rabbit, right? The rabbit that has just eaten the carrot, right? The rabbit has just eaten the carrot. So this rabbit will have certain amount of energy here, right? But because this rabbit is also producing heat, right? Body heat and so on. So whatever energy that is in the body, it's already converted into heat. And you know, heat actually dissipates, releases heat. So this heat is lost to the environment. And it's not possible for this heat to be transferred to the animal that eats the rabbit. So let's say what is rabbit? Let's say tiger. Tiger eat the rabbit, right? The energy that's lost in the form of heat from the body of the rabbit, the tiger cannot get ready because it's already dissipated. Okay, so it cannot be passed on to the next level. So it's not possible to have 100% of this organism, the energy that's stored inside this body, to be used by the next level. At most, you only get 10%. Okay, so 90% of it is lost, about 90%, up to 90% is lost into all this process. Okay, respiration, and also this organism uses the energy for movement, for reproduction, and all that. Okay, so you find that you can never get 100% from it. So that's why, all right, you can see that there will be energy loss at every level. So every level, from one trophic level to another trophic level, some energy is lost. And you see there's quite a high amount. Only 10% gets to be transferred to the next trophic level. 90% will be lost. Okay, so because of this, just now I mentioned, why is usually your food chain not too long? Why you don't have until 10 organisms? This one eat this one, continue until you get 10. All right, usually I say about 4 to 5. Okay, so it's because there's a large amount of loss in energy. So you can see the last one. Okay, look at the snake. The snake only get how much? The snake only get about how much? 0.9 kilojoules, isn't it? 0.9 kilojoules. So if let's say snake is eaten by another organism, then the next one will get how much? The next one, let's say X, don't know lah. Let's say maybe eagle lah. All right, let's put it eagle. Eagles do eat snake, right? Okay, let's put eagle. The eagle will get what? 0.09, right? Another 10% of this is 0.09 kilojoule. That's quite little, right? And then why don't have any organism that eat the eagle? Okay, why don't have another one? Because the next level, this organism X, let's say it eats the eagle, let's say lah, right? You will get 0.009. So little energy. What for want to eat? You're hardly getting anything, is it? You're hardly getting any energy from your food. So this is the reason why normally for your food chain, it doesn't go very long. Okay, it goes at most about 5. Very rarely I've seen 6 or so. Okay, the reason is because the energy level that is the energy that's transferred at every level, the loss of energy is quite a large amount. Okay, so that means you will not, at the end of the chain there, the organism towards the end there is not going to get much energy from this food chain. So that's why it's usually short. What for? And I said, put it in simple language. I'm not getting anything from this food. Why do I eat it? Why do I even bother to eat it? Is that that's what it means? So it's always better to be at the lower, when you're getting more, when you are at the lower trophic level, you'll be getting more energy from your the food. Okay, so that's basically what it means. So I will cancel this off. Okay, so usually you do not have anything higher than 5 levels, trophic level. Okay, so the shorter the food chain, when the food chain is short, the greater the availability of energy. So the energy that is available is greater. Easier to get the energy. Okay, understand? All right, so this is what I want to tell you. Why your food chain, this is a K-Buck question. No, it can be a K-Buck question. Why are food chains generally why do food chains generally do not have more than 5 trophic levels? Okay, so that I've already mentioned. Okay, because of the energy loss during transfer through one trophic level to the next trophic level. You find that if you have very long food chain, the organism at the end of the food chain will get to have very little energy from the food that they eat. Right? That means you think of it, not getting anything. What for? Is it what for I eat it? Right? Okay, that's what it means. So nature has made it in such a way, right? The food chains, the eagles don't have any predators, so they die because of old age. They die because of sickness and all that, or maybe during there's not enough food. Okay, or any environmental impact. Something happened to the environment, so they don't get food, then they die. Okay, natural causes. Okay, so usually it's more efficient for humans to eat plants. You go right down to the trophic level. Don't go to a higher trophic level. You eat the plant, then it's more economical, more efficient for you to eat directly the plant than to make the animal eat the plant and then you eat the animal. Okay, in other words, what I mean, it's more economical to eat bread directly. You eat the bread. Bread is made from what? From wheat. You eat the plant rather than you let the chicken eat the what? Eat the wheat and then you eat the chicken or eat the eggs. Okay, that means you went through another level already. If you yourself as the, let's say, wheat eaten by human, okay, compare that with the wheat eaten by chicken, and then you eat the chicken. Sorry, that is wait, this is human, right? This is human, so it's more economical because you'll be getting more energy from that. So let's say wheat, okay, let's say I put 10,000 kilojoule. So if this one 10% of it is only maybe 1,000, is it? 1,000 kilojoule. Correct? And then if here 10,000, if I had to go through another trophic level, the chicken will get 1,000, is it? The chicken, sorry, I have to write. It's a bit messy. Chicken will get 1,000 kilojoule. And then the human will be getting only 100. You get what I mean? All right. So this is the what they call, this is the logic lah. Right? This is the logic. Okay. Now let's go on to the type of pyramids. Okay. So this is a little bit something new for you. The pyramid of numbers, I think you're okay lah, because you learned it before. Now, how do you represent the feeding relationship, okay, between the levels of trophic levels? We use ecological pyramid to represent it. So there are 3 types, okay, of ecological pyramid. There are 3 types, and usually the shape or the size or the shape of the pyramid will show how much there is, okay, to size the bar, okay, how long or how big the bar is. Okay, there are 3 types. Okay, let's look at this. 3 types. One is called pyramid of numbers. You only talk about the number of the organism. How, if there are many, okay, the number will be bigger. If there are very few, then the number will be smaller. Okay. The next one is the pyramid shows the biomass. Now, what is a biomass? Biomass means referring to the amount of tissue in the body of the organism. That is the biomass. Okay. And how do you get biomass? Actually, you have to do look at the dry mass. Okay, dry mass, of course, it has its complications. You learned it in your Form 4, I think, the chapter on growth. Okay, there are 2 parameters. One is normal mass, where you just weigh the organism together with the water and everything. You want to get the biomass, you have to take the dry weight. The dry weight means that the organism must be dehydrated. It ends up killing the organism if you want to take the biomass. Okay, but never mind about that. Okay, now, third one is just to look at the pyramid of energy in terms of the pyramid in terms of energy. So you have 3 ways how you're going to draw your pyramid, either the type of pyramid for numbers or biomass or energy. Okay, then let's look at the easiest one. The first one is pyramid of numbers. Pyramid of numbers is usually, of course, you know the shape of pyramid, right? As you always understand, a pyramid, it must be the base is the biggest. Right, this is usually this is called the usual concept of pyramid, where your base is the biggest. Then you have different levels which you arrange on top of the pyramid. So the pyramid number shows the number of organisms. So number, the keyword here is number. It just shows you how many organisms of that type at that place. Okay, so let's look at this example. Now let's talk about a field or a ladang. All right. Now at the ladang here, you can see plants are always the producer, always at the bottom. For the pyramid, the producers are always at the bottom. So plants would have the highest number, isn't it? Let's say in a ladang there, you have 1,000 of, let's say, sawit, okay, or maybe 1,000 pokok of the grass, okay. Lalang, let's say lalang. Lalang is wheat, let's say 1,000. Okay, of course, 1,000 is quite a lot, isn't it? It is a small field, or a ladang, right? Or an orchard. Then, of course, maybe this 1,000 weeds here, 1,000 weeds here, will be the home of, let's say, maybe 200 grasshoppers, staying there, okay, 200 grasshoppers. So the number, of course, less. And maybe this 200 grasshopper is actually food for maybe birds, maybe let's say 50 birds to stay there, all right? And also maybe these 50 birds here, maybe what you have there, you have, let's say, 5 eagles. Okay, you can see the number. The number at the bottom is always more. As you go up to the apex or the tip or the top of the pyramid, you find the number decreases. Okay, so you can see here, the number of organisms decreases as you go up the pyramid, the number. But on the reverse, you will see the size, the body size. When the eagle compare with the bird, eagle is definitely bigger than bird. Bird is definitely bigger than grasshopper. Is it? The size will increase. The body, the organism. So when you talk about the pyramid of numbers here, as you go up the pyramid, the number of organisms will decrease. There'll be less and less and less. Okay, let's say 1,000 wheat. Of course, there'll be enough for, let's say, 200 grasshoppers. Then you have 50 birds here, and then maybe 5 eagles or maybe 2 eagles. Okay, but the size will increase. The body of the eagle is much bigger compared to the grasshopper. Okay, so this is a pyramid of numbers. Okay, now pyramid of numbers can be upright. Upright means the top is small, the bottom is big. This is the usual one, right? You have usual pyramid of numbers is like that. The bottom is big, the top is small. So you have a pyramid with the tip, the small part on the top here. But it can also be inverted. Okay, inverted means terbalik. Inverted, it can also be what let's say on top is, on the other hand, bigger and the bottom is smaller. Okay, so how does that happen? I'll show you an example. For example, you have the ladang there, you got one big tree. Okay, like a tree maybe one tree only, or maybe a few trees, or maybe 5 trees. But your 5 tree here maybe have a lot of caterpillars. So you can see this example. This is an inverted. All right, it looks like an inverted, semi-inverted, not all the way inverted. You see there's one pokok here, there's one oak tree here, which is home to, let's say, 1,000 caterpillar. And then 1,000 caterpillar, maybe food enough to support, let's say, 100 birds. And then maybe in that ecosystem there, you have 10 eagles. Okay, you see, it's also possible because of numbers. Numbers are like one big tree. Okay, so this one doesn't always, this pyramid number doesn't always need to have the base the biggest. It is not always upright. So this is upright. Okay, this is inverted, means terbalik. The small part is at the bottom. That is called inverted. All right, so you might get an inverted pyramid if you have, let's say, a big tree. And a big tree, as you know that, a big tree here, you have a lot of caterpillars, you have a lot of ants and so on. Okay, that can happen. Okay, that is the pyramid of numbers. Okay, at the moment, I think there's no questions yet. Okay, we can discuss that on our class on Tuesday, on Monday and Tuesday. So we will leave questions there. Okay, now next one. Another type of biomass, another type of pyramid is called the pyramid of biomass. Now this one is not talking about numbers of the organism. Not talking about numbers. So this one talks about the biomass. That means the amount of tissue in the body. Okay, in the body of the organism. And how do you get biomass? You actually need to get the dry mass. Okay, which is a bit messy. You end up killing the organism because you have to dehydrate. You have to take up the organism and then you put it in the oven and you keep on switching on the oven and you let the water evaporate. Evaporate until you do not get any more water, until the mass is consistent or constant. Then you notice this is the mass of what of the tissue minus the water. That is biomass. So biomass gives you an accurate picture of how much tissue there is in the body. Okay, don't take what into account the water. So this shows the total biomass per unit area. Now for here, just now the number, the unit is all number. For the pyramid of numbers, the unit that you use is just number. That means 1,000 or 200, right? There's no particular unit, it's just number. But for biomass, usually we use this. We use this unit. Usually it is kilogram per kilometer square. That means area. It is the amount of biomass per unit area. So it's per kilometer square or maybe you can use gram per meter square. This is the unit for biomass, right? I mean the pyramid biomass, okay? Or calories per meter square. So it has to do with the area as well. Okay, so this biomass, right, shows the amount of tissue that is can be made available to the next level. Okay, so here in this biomass also it can be inverted. Okay, for example here, now here is the upright one. Upright when you have grass, right? 15,000, maybe I don't know, kilograms or whatever lah. Okay, per kilometer per city, a kilometer square. That will be enough for maybe 2,000 kilograms of the cow. Not number, don't talk about 2,000 cows. It's not 2,000 cows. It's 2,000 kilogram. You're talking about the tissue. Talking about the tissue, not the number of the cow. You're talking about grass, not the number. You don't have 15,000 grass. It's the 15,000 kilograms of the tissue. Okay, and then maybe 100 kilograms of human, about 2%, right? 100 kilograms is about 2%. Okay, let's say about 50 kilograms percent. Okay, so this is the upright. It can also be inverted for biomass. Example, phytoplankton. All right, phytoplankton, they don't weigh very much. Phytoplankton, these are the algae, these are the producers in the ocean. Okay, and then they're eaten by zooplankton and they're eaten by pelagic fish. Pelagic fish are open the ocean fish. We call it pelagic fish. Okay, so a pyramid of biomass shows the total biomass of the organisms involved at each trophic level of an ecosystem. So they are not necessarily upright also. It can also be inverted, like this is the case of the zooplankton and the phytoplankton. Phytoplankton are those algae which produce food, and they become food for this zooplankton, the small little animals, which become food for small fishes and small prawns and so on. Okay, so it can also be inverted. But remember that the mass, the unit is always per area. So it can be per kilometer square or per meter square. Okay, that means we're talking about the whole area. How much tissue is there in the whole area there? Okay, that is the pyramid of biomass. It's more accurate. It's more accurate compared to the pyramid of numbers. Okay, we look for another one. Now, the third one is most accurate when we talk about energy. So this is called pyramid of energy. Okay, pyramid of energy just shows you how much energy is contained in that level. Okay, don't talk about the numbers, don't talk about the tissue, but how much energy you can get from that level. This is the total energy which is present in the ecosystem. So as you know earlier, you only get 10% to go up to the next level. Okay, correct? Out of whatever at the base here, whatever that goes up, you only get 10% to be transferred up. And subsequently, from this level to go up to the next level, you also get only 10%. So because of that, you notice that your pyramid can only become smaller and smaller and smaller at the top. So this pyramid of energy can never be inverted. Okay, not possible to be inverted. Whatever it is, your pyramid energy is always at the bottom level. You always have more energy compared to the top level, because when it transfers to the next level, 90% is lost already. You only get 10% to go up. So it's not possible for something that is on top to have more energy than the bottom, because 90% is lost already. Yeah, you at the bottom cannot be more than on the top. Okay? Sorry, the balik. Whatever's on top cannot be more than the bottom. So that's why this one is not possible to be inverted. You will always get upright. Okay, because of the concept of loss of energy. 90% is lost before you go to the next level. Okay, let's look at the diagram. Okay, so you can see here. Now for sunlight, whatever amount of energy of sunlight, let's say here, okay, I think it's too small for you. I make it bigger. You see here, 1 million joule of sunlight. This is energy. Energy is calculated in terms of joule, in terms of calorie also. So let's say 1 million joule of sunlight hits the leaf or hits the plant. Then from here, it uses 1% of this to make food. So now your plant here, let's look at the rose here, the rose plant, it gets 10,000 because 1% out of 1 million is 10,000. Okay, when we do the calculation, 1% of 1 million is 10,000. So now you have 10,000 joule in your rose plant. When your belalang, when the grasshopper eats the leaves, eats the leaf of the rose, 10% will be transferred to the body of the grasshopper. So 10% of the 10,000 is 1,000. Okay, and then this belalang gets to be eaten by the bird, okay, secondary consumer. And 10% of 1,000 will be 100. So you can see the number always gets smaller and smaller. Okay, number gets smaller and smaller. It's not possible to become bigger and bigger because it's already 10%, 10%, 10%. Everything is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So from this 100 joule, all right, in the bird, all right, in the body of the bird, 10% of this will get to be transferred over to the eagle when the eagle eats this bird. So you see 10 joule. So you say, how can it possible to be inverted? It's not possible. The bottom is always bigger. Okay, so that's why you will see that this energy level, the pyramid of energy, it is not possible to get an inverted triangle. Sorry, inverted pyramid. Okay, inverted pyramid. It's always from bottom is more energy. Okay, so you get what it is that you will get for this pyramid of energy. So because of energy, you always get it in either kilojoule or calories. Even gram also. Gram is less common now. Per meter square because of the area, and also per year, calculated. So this is the unit for pyramid of energy. Kilojoule per meter square per. Okay, you see that? So if you don't write the stroke, rather than writing it meter, right? Minus one means actually the when you write your physics, all the unit at the bottom you bring it up, you put negative, and then this is year, you also put negative one. So the unit for bio energy. You see three types of pyramid. This is energy, pyramid energy. Remember the unit per kilojoule per meter square, that means area, per then biomass, which is just the biomass in terms of how many grams or kilograms per area. Simplest form, which you learn in primary school, right, is just a number. The numbers you may get inverted lah, okay? And also for biomass, you also might get inverted. But in energy, the pyramid of energy is not possible to invert it because of the loss of energy as you go higher the trophic level. All right, okay? So this is what I want to introduce to you lah for today. So for the next lesson, which is going to be more interesting, we talk about the different types of among the biotic components, the different types of relationship that we introduced, the fish and the anemone, how do they help each other, what kind of advantage they have, do they give to each other, and so on. So it's interesting when you like to know these kind of relationships. So on Tuesday and Monday, I will have another lesson where I'm going to record it, just like we go streaming on. Okay, so this is for today's lesson. Okay, so I hope you've understood. If not, please do message Instagram, and I'll be happy to explain to you. Okay, so for those who are there, who are not my students, I hope you also enjoy or get advantage of us, and do share the video. Okay, so right, girls. Fine. Okay, I'll see you on. All right, please tell the other girls to please watch this lesson, because I'm not going to repeat this. I'm going to go through the next part on your class next week. Okay, so I will see you then. All right, bye-bye, girls. Okay, I will see you next week. Google, we will go for YouTube first, then we go to Google Meet afterwards. Okay, bye-bye. See ya. Okay, welcome.